Accessing lesson plans is important because it gets something in your hand to use. But is it really something you want to use, or even is it something that is usable? Those are important questions, and you need to be able to examine and evaluate the overall quality of the lesson plan. Here's a rubric that can be used to evaluate lesson plans. It's not perfect, but it's a really good place to start. Effective plans in most cases contain specific elements or components. Each of those components needs to be explained in great detail in order for it to be used effectively. Let's walk through each of the components that are described in this rubric so that we can identify what is important and to what level it needs to be included so that you can actually use the plan effectively. When evaluating a lesson plan, a very important component that you should review closely is the stated instructional goals and objectives. On the poor end of the scale, you may find that no mention of the goals are even given. As you get to higher quality plans, the goals and objectives are stated in a very clearly written format. These objectives help you to know right from the onset where the learning experience is going to end up. What is it that the students are actually going to be able to learn? Another lesson plan component is a section that explains the materials. These are the materials that will be needed to actually carry out the lesson. Look to make sure a list is given, but also examine the list and make sure that it contains, that it actually makes sense and that it's complete. In many cases, alternative materials could be included to make sure you have the best opportunity to succeed with the lesson. This, of course, is a critical component of the lesson plan, how you actually do it and carry it out. You need to see not only a list of steps here, but also an explanation of what needs to be done and what to watch out for. Correctly written procedures allow someone who doesn't know anything about this lesson to pick up this procedure and follow it and successfully complete the lesson. Read through the procedures of your lesson plan and see if you can easily accomplish what the author wants to be completed. If not, then more work needs to be invested in this description. Great procedure sections also include some alternative steps or ways to complete things. This helps the user adapt the lesson when problems crop up during the implementation. Higher quality lesson plans not only list the assessment that will be used, but that assessment really needs to be closely tied to the lesson objectives. Make sure the objectives and the assessments match. That is if the lesson objectives and procedures all focus on having a child learn to ride a bike, then actual bike riding needs, that would reflect a match between the objectives and the assessment. If the assessment is, actually a written test about the history of spokes on a bike, there's a serious mismatch between that original objective and also the assessment idea. So check this out closely. There should be a section that offers additional resources to those using the plan. Because of the diversity of students and how a lesson can be approached, additional resources such as videos, additional readings, more exercises and assignments, these can be really effective and really helpful. This component of the rubric has you look specifically at the use of technology and determine if it has been included and if it has been included appropriately. Ask yourself, could the lesson be enhanced in some way through the integration of technology, and in what way could that be done? In some cases, the lesson plan will incorporate technology. Was it done in an appropriate manner that facilitates the learning that should occur? If not, why not? Can other forms of technology be considered, and how could those help with the learning that is to occur? Think through these things, and as you look at your lesson plan, you can know the better end of these things when they actually identify some of those technologies and the best use of those technologies. This component of the lesson plan, seriously looks at specifically how well the lesson engages the student. Is the student passive throughout the lesson, or is the student actively involved? How could improvements be made to ensure the student is engaged? After reviewing all of the other components, it's kind of good to sit back and look at this lesson and really ask yourself, is it doable? How usable is it actually? In what ways could this usability be increased? Look closely at the better options as it suggests extensions for diverse learners and other things that could be added to the plan to make sure it is useful for the greatest audience. The last component listed here on this rubric has to do with overall organization and how well it is presented. I start to really worry about the content of the lesson plan that just looks sloppy from the get-go. Is it organized? Does it appear to be well put together and that someone has put thought into it? If it doesn't look very professional, look closely at the content. That might also be, have some serious problems. Download the attachment of the rubric and use it as a guide to help you review and evaluate those lesson plans that you're going to access. And finally, one last word. This rubric isn't just used to evaluate the lesson plan of other people. It is most effectively used by you as you develop your own lesson plans, as you design your instructional experiences and go through each of these components and make sure that they clearly contain the objectives, the materials, procedures, and right on down the list. Anyway, have a good day. See ya. Bye.